Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, I think we're basically renaming this to a culture track. So I'm Max, I'm engineering director in product growth in a company called 𝒂𝒅𝒆. We are fintech scale-up in the UK, and you can tell from the name that we don't like cards because we build products for bank-to-bank payments. And yeah, that's actually my debut presenting this slide, so don't judge me too harsh. And without further ado, I'm excited to talk to you about experimentation and how to build the culture of experimentation in your company. So we'll start with the warm-up. Maybe can you stand up if you or your teams ran at least one experiment this year? Okay, I set the bar pretty low, but yeah, a few people. What about, no, keep standing. So now, keep standing if you ran an experiment this quarter. Okay. What about this month? Oh, nice. And what about this week? Let's push it really hard. Yeah. Okay. That's maybe too far. Only seasoned experimentators. So I think that kind of meets my expectations. But the general perspective in the industry is that companies are not satisfied with the frequency of experimentation and pace of learning in the business. But you may ask, like, hey, Max, why experimentation is so important? Experimentation is a problem-solving tool that allows you to avoid a common traps of using just data or just intuition to make your business decisions. And let me visualize this. So this is a very high-level process of how decision-making process works in the businesses that don't run experiments. So you have your data and opinions that feed into a list of hypotheses, then you prioritize them with your favorite framework, and you make some investments. And bad investments happen because of the wrong data or wrong opinions. The issue with opinions is that they are subjective. They are susceptible to biases, recency bias, confirmation bias, halo effects, you name it. But the data has flaws too. Data can be too generic or too specific. You can gamify it to get the metric that supports your idea. Data is also not always a good predictor of the future based on the past. And the same data can be interpreted in many different ways. So, and this is all happening in a data-savvy organizations. They do use data. They maybe live and breathe with data, but they still make bad investments. Just imagine what happens in companies that are less data-savvy. And I have a slide for it. So experimentation helps you to validate your hypothesis faster and fail early if the hypothesis was wrong. And then also maximize your chance of getting wiser and better informed investments for the hypothesis that ended up being right. So despite the circles for experimentation and productionization are equal size here, but in the reality and effort and time that it takes to check your idea with experiment is typically a lot lower. Yeah, so it's time to back up all my words with some trustworthy research here. So this is from MIT from 2019 or 2020. As part of the Sloan Management Review, they asked about biggest challenge that impacts your company's ability to compete in the digital environment. The experimentation was by far first reason for it. And this is now from Optimizely, a leading A/B testing and experimentation platform. So they reported that 40% of their customers saw a 10+% increase to their bottom line in revenue after they ramped up experimentation process. So experimentation is clearly important, and it is a competitive advantage because you can learn faster and make better business decisions. Well, yeah, what do we do here? Do you want to hear a distilled framework of the 5 steps as promised, or do you want to hear stories of how we did it in 𝒂𝒅𝒆 with all the trials and tribulations? Who's for framework? Who's for stories? Yay, everyone. Yeah, it was actually a fake door test. I think we will have time for both, yeah. So the first story I want to tell you is about our website. So this is how it looked like in early 2019 when I joined the business. And at the time, there was a shift towards signing larger deals, investing more in sales, and even stepping into the enterprise territory. This website was clearly designed and made for smaller self-serve businesses. And everyone, execs, marketing, sales, were in alignment that we have to change that. We need a website rebuild to speak to our enterprise customers. So we basically had a data and opinions, and we ran an A/B test to validate that adding contact sales buttons is not going to impact signups coming from smaller self-serve customers. So we had everything. And we went into like a 3 months massive rebuild. This is just tip of the iceberg, just the homepage, but we changed a lot of things. And this is how it looked like. And we saw very little change to how many customers, large customers, contacted sales or converted through the website. And this is because despite having data, opinions, and the A/B test that supported it, we didn't have the right strategy. People talked about the product market fit. We did not understand our product channel fit in this case. Website is not how or why our enterprise customers sign up or sign with the business, but it is a crucial platform for those smaller self-serve customers. And also, we vastly underestimated the lifetime value of our self-serve merchant base at that point as well. So this is how our website looks today. And what you can notice, apart from obviously like a massive rebrand, is that actually we went in many aspects. We went all the way back to the idea that it has to serve for smaller customers. Just look at this. CTAs with customer-centric actions, solopreneur imagery, trusted BIBIC number of the small businesses. So we went all the way back. And the learning here is that experimentation won't save you if your strategy is not right. So you have to have the strategy. Right, going back to our conversation about the value of experimentation. So why if it's beneficial so clearly, why companies still don't experiment? And I see 3 main reasons here. First one, and the toughest one, is company culture. This is hardest to shift because this is where your decision makers want to trust their opinions rather than data or experiments. The second one is don't understand the value, aka it's too expensive. And in this scenario, you can actually build a compelling case based on industry data and based on some evidence and calculations within your company of like what kind of failures that would potentially could have avoided. You can build a compelling case to prove that it's actually too expensive not to experiment. And finally, try it and it didn't work. So this is usually due to an ad hoc investment, and you kick off and just give it a go with smaller experiments, with inexperienced team, and with a lack of strategy. One of those or a combination of them. So the second story, I call it a share of wallet trap. So when we kicked off our second team in product growth, we wanted that team to focus on growing revenue and usage from existing customers. And one of the business outcomes that we wanted was growth in share of wallet. So share of wallet, for the context, is percentage of the payments our customers take through us versus our competitors. And we thought this is a perfect North Star metric for this team. It's so evident. But half a year later, and a couple of really challenging experiments later, team realized it was very glaring that share of wallet is not a great North Star metric. And the reason being, it's very difficult to measure, and it's very slow to impact it. Luckily, after a brainstorming, team came up with an alternative idea that while share of wallet is still the business outcome that we want, an average revenue per customer is a lot better than North Star metric, and we can actually build a whole tree of sub-metrics and lagging and leading indicators that can be impacted through experiment and that are measurable. So the learning here is that you need to set a clear and measurable North Star metric that you can influence. And the extra learning was that you need to allow team to pivot when they need to. You need to give them that freedom. Now we're gonna get into a people side of things. And I'll tell you two stories. One on how we made an unexpected friends, and the second one, how we dealt with expected rivals. So when we started rolling out our experiments, that caused a number of issues for customer success team. Because we didn't communicate those launches quite well. Sometimes experiments went to some fraction of the population of the customers. We couldn't tell in advance who's going to be enrolled into the variant experience. And also when we changed a user interface, quite often our customer hub articles with screenshots basically became only half accurate. So while we were solving all of these operational challenges by kind of aligning with customer success, setting up process for the experiment rollouts, and automating some of the manual requests, we also realized that actually if we work closer with customer success, this can be really powerful in terms of our onboarding efforts. And Ramli John, author of the product-led onboarding, stretches in his book how powerful it is to have a cross-functional team focusing on the user experience during onboarding. So Ramli would be proud of us because right now, customer success is one of the 4 frontline teams in Acquire and Activate, a go-to-market organization, and they have a substantial impact into helping our customers to activate and use the product. So the lesson learned here is, in terms of experimentation program, the more cross-functional it is, the more departments are involved, the more powerful it is because it unlocks you extra opportunities. This story is somewhat specific to us because we were kicking off experimentation in product growth. Our teams don't own parts of the product we experiment with. So we experiment across products owned by other teams. And in Go-Cardless, we have this mutually exclusive, collectively exhausted MISI model of the ownership. And despite monolith architecture, every team owns part of the product or a module or a file on the different levels. So we knew it's going to be triggering when we introduce teams that going to need to work across all parts of the product. And it's maybe not going to be as actual for your case if you kick off experimentation in the teams that actually own their products. But this is how it started for us. So when we tried to run or launch our first experiments, we saw a lot of pushback. These are like literal, almost like literal quotes from our conversations from Slack. It's like, oh, you don't know our code base or domain enough. How are you going to contribute? You're going to cut corners because you're a growth team and build it fast and dirty. We don't have time to review your RFCs and code, and what if it causes an incident? So all these like valid concerns. So how did we go about changing that no thank you to something more positive? Well, first of all, you need an air cover and buy-in from your leaders and execs to comfort other teams with the fact that this is happening. Experimentation program is happening, and there will be teams that contribute to your code bases. But apart from that, there's a number of things from sort of setting a formal frameworks in terms of how we prioritize, how we align on roadmaps, how we built like a code contribution model where you can be a requester, contributor, trusted contributor, or owner, and you can sort of earn trust by moving from one to another. To informal ways, we're all people, you need to talk and build relationships and find those win-win scenarios. And I can give a few examples. For example, like what if we land our engineer for a next project of the team, and we help them, but we also learn a lot more about their code base and how everything works, right? So that's an easy deal. And as a like part of one of the experiments, we addressed a number of like issues with technical debt and migrated a few screens from the legacy code base. Always received well. And also sorting out the quality standards and how we take ownership over the issues that we cause by running experiments in production. That was probably the biggest concern from the engineering counterparts. Also bringing those first money in, and yeah, that's always great to celebrate success, and also work together on productionization. Don't throw work over the fence and just say, oh, this is winning experiments, productionize it. No, you need to work together and work on RFC and refine the approach. Communicating your plans clearly and in advance, super important, same as with customer success. And also share learnings from experiments and share discoveries from the user research, from data analysis. Super insightful, and everyone is interested in that. And finally, offer help to upskill them to ramp up on experimentation themselves. So that like literally changed things in a matter of a couple of months, and we built a lot better relationship. And the learning here is maybe obvious, but building trust takes time, and in our case, with this no-code ownership model, it was especially delicate. Final story is called measurement shortcuts. So we are B2B, so which means typically lower traffic volumes than in the B2C world. So if you, for example, we record probably like 15K sessions on our pricing page every month, maybe about 10K signups and 2,000 activations a month, right? So in order to, like some tests took us 90 days to run to get statistically significant result. And this is not really delivering on the promise to learn fast, isn't it? So, and then data analyst joined the team who was really keen on introducing a Bayesian statistical models. And that dropped our experiment running time very significantly. It allowed us to run experiments on lower traffic pages and screens. Complete game changer. So the learning here is that you can assemble a team from generalists and expect them to deliver. But it's also really important to have people who had experience with experimentation or experts in this field. Yeah, so I meant to tell you about 5 steps. Whoops. Right, so the first one is you need get organizational buy-in. And there's a few ingredients here. You need an executive sponsor, and yeah, as high as you can get, probably like a CTO or CPO. You need to secure investment. It's not cheap. You'll need people, you need tools. It also takes time. And you need to make sure that it's investment in a long-term cultural shift and continuous experimentation rather than, oh, let's give it a go and run a few experiments and see how it goes. You need to give teams license to operate. Trust them, trust the data. And your stakeholders should be comfortable with that as well. If experiment data contradicts their opinion, then their opinion is wrong, and they should be comfortable with that. And set the collaboration model. What do you own? How do you contribute to what you don't own? Who you work with and how? And remember, it's more efficient when it's a company-wide motion. The second one is assemble the team. So what you want is cross-functionality. You want, don't overlook design, content, marketing, sales, even customer success, like in one of the examples. And have people with the growth mindset, eager to learn, and resilient and ready to fail, because you will fail a lot with experiments, especially in the beginning. And data-driven. Data is the key here. It's crucial in multiple stages in discovery, quantitative pre-test, post-test analysis. Finally, balance your team. Bring domain experts who already know your product and your domain, but also complement it with people who have experience with experimentation. Hire them if you don't have them currently on the team. Third one is set direction. You need a strategy that is aligned with business objectives and break it down into the tree of opportunities that you can target. Dream big. Remember, big wins in experimentation comes from strategic tests and iterative refinements. Like a perception of tests with different button colors and stuff like this is gone. This is not a thing. Small tests equal small results and most often actually non-statistically significant results. Find the clearly defined customer problem that is solvable with experimentation. And finally, set a North Star metric and a set of leading and lagging indicators and measure every activity that you run against those. Right. Another one is establish the rhythm. So experimentation lifecycle is somewhat different to your typical product development lifecycle with a lot more emphasis on discovery, experiment design, productionization, and measurement. So during productionization, try to roll forward to unlock a value of experiment as early as possible, and combine it with additional benefits like a tech debt reduction, design debt reduction, etc. Final step is educate and expand. So communicate relentlessly, upwards, sideways, outwards. Build your narrative through the story of experiments. Tell about wins. Tell about learnings, tell about incremental revenue generated and revenue loss prevented. So all of these things, and evangelize and get more teams to experiment as well. The bonus point is you'll need tooling, 4 things: user tracking, A/B testing, product analytics, and customer engagement platforms, and they all have to be integrated and working well together. That was me. Thank you very much, and yeah, find me if you want to talk about experimentation.